The Eight Immortals Travel East Chapter 41.
Usually when we talk about a military operation, there's this underlying expectation of precision.
Right. It's treated almost like engineering.
Exactly. You look at a satellite map, you identify the enemy bunker, drop the ordnance, and the generals point to a screen and say, target destroyed. It's very clinical.
Yeah, it provides a sense of control. Objective secured or objective failed. It implies that warfare follows a strict, observable logic.
But then you step into the world of ancient mythological warfare, and suddenly that satellite feed is just completely scrambled.
Oh, entirely scrambled.
You are looking at a tactical landscape that doesn't just ignore the laws of physics. It actively rewrites them. Welcome.
It's a wild ride today.
It really is. If you've ever felt like you are stuck dealing with the real-world fallout of your boss's terrible decisions, just wait until you hear how immortal masters handle their mistakes.
Yeah, their mistakes tend to have a slightly higher body count.
Just a bit. Today, we're looking at Chapter 41 of Journey to the East, or Dongyuchi. So let's set the stage for you. Before we get into the actual chaos of the clash, we have to understand the blueprint for destruction.
Because you really can't just run out onto the field and start swinging a sword in this universe.
Right. If you try that, you're going to hit a literal magical wall. You have to dismantle the enemy's metaphysical infrastructure first.
Exactly. So the sources outline a massive, complex enemy array known as the Heavenly Formation.
Okay.
And strategist Song, that's the immortal Zhongli, operating in a tactical advisory role here, he's laying out the battle plan to the mortal commander Zhongbo.
And the primary hurdle they face is the Jade Emperor Pavilion, right, sitting right at the center of this formation.
Right, and this pavilion isn't just a command tent filled with elite guards. Strategist Zong warns that it's guarded by the Golden Dragon Prince.
Which completely alters the tactical reality of the battlefield.
It does. The Golden Dragon Prince isn't just a strong fighter. His divine presence creates this cosmological aura. Standard soldiers simply cannot penetrate it.
Their weapons would just be totally useless.
Completely useless. So, strategist Song lays down a hard rule. The Song Emperor himself must personally lead the troops to suppress the prince's aura.
I love how the text treats the Emperor here. He isn't just a guy giving orders from a safe throne room miles away.
No, not at all.
His physical presence is a mandatory tactical asset. But even the Emperor can't just stroll in. First, they have to take out the enemy formation's symbolic focal points.
Yeah, strategist Song gives a very specific hit list for this.
It's super specific. It's 49 sky lanterns, a pearl-white parasol, and a sun-moon pearl black silk flag.
And those specific objects are actually the most critical detail of the whole battle plan.
How so?
Well, in ancient Chinese array warfare, especially when it's heightened by mythology, symbols aren't just decorative banners to boost morale. They hold actual structural power.
It sounds like they're planning a targeted EMP strike.
That's a really good way to think about it.
Knocking out a parasol into some lanterns sounds like, well, ruining a garden party. But practically, they are trying to fry the enemy's communications network before sending in the infantry.
Let's take that EMP analogy a step further, actually, because it's highly accurate, but the stakes are even higher here. Okay, lay it on me.
Imagine if an EMP didn't just knock out the enemy's radios, but actually dissolve their Kevlar vests and shut off an invisible force field.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The 49 lanterns, the parasol, the sun-moon flag, they are conduits. They anchor the magical energy of the array to the physical dirt of the battlefield.
So if you don't neutralize those focal points, the magical shield stays up.
Exactly. You could fire 1,000,000 arrows and they would all just bounce off.
So the strategy is sequential then. Cut the magical anchors, collapse the shield, and then bring in the Emperor's divine aura to neutralize the Golden Dragon.
Yes. On paper, it sounds meticulous. It is a perfect, logical blueprint.
But the moment the attack actually begins, that clinical blueprint turns into an absolute bloodbath.
It really does.
The transition from high-level magical theory to ground-level carnage is jarring. It all kicks off the next morning with 3 drum beats.
And those 3 drum beats are the signal for the execution phase. The text wastes no time moving from strategy to extreme violence. Meng Liang and Zhou Zan, 2 of the primary Song generals, they just lead their troops straight for the side of the Jade Emperor Pavilion.
And against all odds, they actually pull it off.
They do. Meng Liang captures that pearl-white parasol, and Zhou Zan hacks down the sun-moon black silk flag. The magical EMP is triggered.
And we really have to look at the mechanics of what happens next, because once those anchors fall, the text describes the barbarian forces as essentially paralyzed.
Paralyzed how? Like frozen in place?
Well, in ancient formations, troops relied entirely on flag movements and lantern signals to know where to march, when to strike, and when to defend.
Right, there were no radios.
Exactly. So when those magical focal points were destroyed, the troops weren't just stripped of their magical shielding, they were physically rendered blind and deaf to their commander's orders.
Which totally explains the sheer scale of the slaughter that follows.
It's an absolute rout.
They immediately clash with the barbarian generals, Tu Jinyu and Tu Jingxiu, and Meng Liang fights with incredible ferocity. I mean, he literally splits Tu Jinyu open with an axe.
Yeah, that part is particularly brutal.
Just cleaves him in half on the spot. Zhao Zan strikes down Tu Jingxiu. Meanwhile, Lu Ling is attacking from the rear, shooting down all 49 signal lanterns.
And by taking down the lanterns, the entire sensory network of the enemy army is plunged into darkness.
Now, the text mentions a detail here that really caught my eye. It says 28 star officials are slaughtered by Meng Liang and the others.
Yes, the star officials.
Not defeated in combat, slaughtered. But who exactly are these star officials? Because they sound far too important to just be regular troops getting chopped down in the mud.
They are incredibly important. The 28 star officials represent the 28 lunar mansions in traditional Chinese astronomy.
Wait, the lunar mansions, like actual astronomy.
Exactly. In the context of this magical array, these aren't just human officers. They are avatars or physical anchors for the constellations themselves.
So by killing them, the Song army is literally severing the enemy's alignment with the stars.
Precisely. They are dismantling the cosmos around the enemy. And you see this pattern continue as the momentum shifts.
The source uses a really specific phrase here, right? Like splitting bamboo.
Yes, to describe the collapse. Because once you crack the hard outer layer of bamboo, the rest of the stalk splinters effortlessly straight down the middle.
That is such a vivid image.
It is. So Meng Liang breaches the vermilion bird formation, Jiao Zan breaches the black tortoise formation, and Hian Zan shatters the long snake formation.
Let's pause on that for a second, because again, vermilion bird and black tortoise sound like, I don't know, cool video game levels.
Right, they do.
But what does it mean to breach them? Are they just running through a line of guys holding bird-shaped shields?
Not quite. It goes back to directional cosmology. The vermilion bird represents the south and the element of fire.
Okay.
And the black tortoise represents the north and the element of water. These arrays are designed to channel the elemental forces of those cardinal directions.
So they're literally fighting the compass.
Yes. Breaching them means the Song generals are systematically destroying the elemental and geographical boundaries of the enemy's magical world.
Wow.
They are turning a divine fortress back into a mundane, chaotic battlefield.
And in that chaos, we finally get to the Golden Dragon Prince. He sees his cosmological fortress crumbling, his star officials are dead, and he tries to flee.
But he doesn't get far.
No, he is pursued and shot dead by the Song Emperor, and then they just burn his pavilion to the ground.
Total destruction.
But I have to ask you, does the text imply the Song Emperor literally pulled back a bowstring and shot a guy in the back? Or is this a metaphor?
It's an interesting question.
Because it feels like it's literalizing a holy war concept where only a true emperor's divine mandate has the power to strike down a rival golden dragon.
Well, the text allows for both interpretations, really. But the cosmological reading is much more significant here.
How so?
A golden dragon implies a direct claim to supreme divine authority. The prince represents a massive metaphysical threat to the Song dynasty's legitimacy.
So he has to go.
Exactly. Therefore, only the true Song emperor, who carries the actual mandate of heaven, has the cosmological weight to cancel him out.
So his authority is the weapon.
Yes, whether a physical arrow left a physical bow is almost beside the point.
Hmm.
His political legitimacy acts as armor-piercing ammunition. It's his mere authority that pierces the golden dragon's invulnerability.
So the human and the divine really are inseparable here, which honestly makes the human cause so much more visceral.
It definitely does.
Because after the formations fall, we see the mortal barbarian commanders trying to escape. Zhao Zan catches the fleeing commander, Yelushij, and kills him.
Brutal.
And then another commander, Yelusha, desperately tries to run, but he is intercepted by Song generals.
And he realizes he's completely trapped.
Exactly. He has no magical array to protect him, no reinforcements coming. So Yelusha draws his sword and just slits his own throat.
That moment really grounds the mythology in brutal human desperation. The magical scaffolding is gone, and what's left is a terrified mortal realizing his war is over.
But taking down that cosmic scaffolding doesn't actually end the conflict, does it?
Not at all.
It just backs the puppet masters into a corner. Because with 80 to 90% of the heavenly formation destroyed and the mortal army decimated, the losing side is forced to escalate.
Right, swords and axes have failed at this point.
So this brings us to a massive shift in the rules of engagement. Han Yanshu, the surviving barbarian commander, sees the total annihilation of his forces.
He's the only one left in charge.
And in a panic, he calls upon strategist Lu, who is actually the immortal Lu Dongbin in disguise, begging for a plan.
And Lu Dongbin does not take this well.
Not even a little bit. The text notes he's deeply ashamed and visibly angry. He declares he will go out and capture the enemy himself.
He's taken the failure of his array personally.
Yeah. And by stepping onto the field himself, Lu Dongbin breaks the unwritten buffer between the divine and the mortal. He abandons his role as an advisor and becomes a direct combatant.
And the moment he steps up, supernatural warfare just takes over completely.
A spirit under his command named Chunyan deploys demonic magic, and the physical battlefield is essentially erased.
Right. The text describes flying sand, rolling stones, and a pitch-black darkness that violently sweeps over the area.
The Song soldiers are forced to completely shut their eyes. They are blinded, battered by the elements, and entirely defenseless.
The environment itself has been weaponized, because mortal armor does absolutely nothing against a magical sandstorm designed to blind an entire army.
Right, the Song forces are completely paralyzed, but then strategist Zhongli, the immortal advising the Song side, counters it.
And he does it so effortlessly.
He really does. He doesn't mobilize a shield wall or order a retreat. He simply rushes to the front lines and waves the sleeve of his robe.
Just a single wave of his sleeve.
And the effect is instantaneous. The hurricane force wind completely reverses. The flying sand and chaos are blown right back onto the barbarians, and the darkness is dismissed.
Just like that.
The sun and moon shine clearly again. Now, I have to stop and ask a logical question here.
Go for it.
If strategist Zhongli can literally banish a magical hurricane and clear the sky with a flick of his laundry, why were Meng Liang and Zhao Zan messing around with axes and parasols earlier? What is the rule book for magic in this universe?
That is the core tension of these mythological epics. Immortals are bound by very specific cosmic laws and hierarchies.
So they can't just do whatever they want?
No, they are meant to act through mortal proxies. They design the arrays, they provide the blueprints, but they let the mortals swing the axes and shed the blood.
Interesting.
It maintains a necessary buffer, keeping the divine realm from devolving into constant, universe-destroying warfare.
So it's like an unspoken treaty. You can give your team the playbook, you can coach them from the sidelines, but you aren't allowed to put on a helmet and tackle the opposing quarterback yourself.
Exactly. It is only when the mortal proxies fail completely, when the buffer is destroyed, like we saw with the slaughter of the array defenders, that an immortal might tip their hand out of desperation.
And that's why Lu Dongbin steps in.
Yes. He steps in because his mortal instruments are gone.
Yeah.
But by using direct environmental magic, he escalates the stakes from a human territorial dispute to a cosmic duel.
He forces Zhongli's hand.
Yes, he does. When Zhongli waves his sleeve, he is answering that escalation directly. He is signaling to Lu Dongbin, if you want to abandon the proxies and play by these rules, I will outmatch you.
It's a total flex.
It is a profound display of superior cultivation. By restoring the sun and the moon, Zhongli isn't just moving wind. He is reasserting the natural cosmic order over Lu Dongbin's demonic chaos.
Which brings the two immortal masterminds face to face on the battlefield. The skies have cleared, the armies are battered and bleeding, and we finally get the ultimate punchline of the gods.
And it completely reframes everything we've just discussed.
It really does. So the spirit Chunyan, who just threw all that darkness and sand, recognizes Zhongli standing there.
Right.
He yells a frantic warning to Lu Dongbin, saying, "Immortal Zhong is here, hide." And then Chunyan turns into a beam of golden light and completely abandons the battlefield.
He just nokes right out of there.
He totally does. Self-preservation overrides any military loyalty. He recognizes a vastly superior immortal and flees.
Leaving Lu Dongbin standing alone on the dirt.
Exactly. Zhongli walks up and confronts him, dropping a massive revelation. He accuses Dongbin of turning into an enemy, violating heavenly destiny, and poisoning the common people.
And the reason for all of this, the text explicitly states it was because of an idle joke.
An idle joke?
Yeah, the Chinese phrase is "jian yan yi zhenji," playful idle words. Banter.
Just a passing, careless comment between immortals.
Yes.
So Zhongli issues an ultimatum right there among the corpses. He says, return to heaven immediately so we can be master and disciple again or face imminent disaster.
And Lu Dongbin doesn't even fight back.
No. He just quietly admits his fault. He says, it was a momentary mistake. I hope you can forgive me.
The capitulation is immediate and total. There is no ideological defense, no grand justification for the war.
And then the two immortals just ascend into the clouds together. They literally fly away, leaving the surviving mortal soldiers staring up at them in awe.
This is a surreal image.